At 9 a.m., you are highly capable. You effortlessly navigate complex, high-stakes environments without missing a single beat. You review dense contracts, untangle personnel conflicts, and allocate project budgets with sharp precision. Yet, by 8 p.m., that same capability often vanishes. Faced with the lowest friction choices imaginable, you stall out. You find yourself endlessly scrolling on the couch instead of putting together a healthy dinner, or you snap at a minor inconvenience that wouldn't have even registered that morning. In the moment, this inconsistency feels intensely personal. It feels like a character failure or a sudden lack of discipline. Most people assume they simply need to try harder to maintain their focus. The degradation of your decision-making in the evening is actually an issue of resource timing. Every single decision you make, regardless of scale, costs cognitive bandwidth. By evening, your system's capacity is simply lower. Relying on fresh discipline every hour is a guaranteed systemic failure. To understand why, we have to look at what a single choice requires from the brain on a mechanical level. This diagram isolates the process. First, you have to actively weigh multiple competing options. Second, you must actively inhibit the alternative paths. Third, you have to tolerate the uncertainty of the path you committed to. The biological resource powering all three of these operations is known as executive function. Now scale that single operation up to the reality of your day. Your professional environment is chaotic. You are saturated with continuous communications, urgent messages, and forced micro-decisions from the moment you log on. Hundreds of these computations happen before noon. Look at this timeline. Work tasks and personal tasks do not draw from separate energy pools. Drafting a high-stakes email to a client and choosing what to eat for lunch pull from that exact same central budget. A demanding day of meetings and strategic pivots mathematically bankrupts the budget you need later. You spend the cognitive budget at the office that you intended to save for yourself, leaving almost no active processing power for the evening. It is worth noting that the evidence here is complex. In academic circles, the specific mechanism of this concept, often called ego depletion, is heavily debated. But despite the debate over exact biological pathways, the lived pattern is familiar to any high-load professional. Your decisions get predictably worse when you are tired. The standard advice to combat this usually falls flat. Telling yourself to just be more disciplined at night does not work. Motivational framing completely ignores the biological throughput limit of your brain. The trap many analytical people fall into is trying to endlessly optimize every evening choice in real time. As we can see back on the timeline, real-time optimization is just stacking more decisions on top of a system that is already overloaded. You think more effort helps, but applying it to failing choices late in the day accelerates your fatigue. The act of trying is the exact computation causing the drain. The counterintuitive part is that true optimization requires removing choices from your active processing queue entirely. The core systemic fix for this is architecting defaults. This diagram shows how a default mechanically functions. It builds a rigid track, completely bypassing active computation. A practical example is relying on a same breakfast rotation. Another is implementing a capsule wardrobe to eliminate morning friction, or establishing strict if-then rules for processing email. Establishing pre-decided workout days or using automated payments can seem rigid to an analytical mind. This is essential cognitive load balancing. By offloading these details, you keep the reservoir full for novel challenges. The secondary mechanism to protect your capacity is batching. Look at the mathematics of meal prep on the diagram. 7 individual choices become a single pass through your executive function. The rule here is that you decide once instead of 7 separate times. Architecting these defaults protects your discretionary judgment for the high-leverage problems that actually deserve it. Here is a practical starting point you can apply immediately. Do not give in to the instinct to overhaul every aspect of your routine at once. That will just cause immediate decision fatigue. Instead, identify exactly 3 recurring daily decisions that currently drain your energy. First, maybe your default is that your first task of the day is always the hardest project for exactly 45 minutes. Second, you could restrict your weekday lunches to a choice between exactly 2 predetermined options. Third, force your evening wind-down routine to start at the exact same time every single night. The operational rule for these defaults is strict. Treat any exceptions as rare and explicit, not as casual slips. If you take one thing from this, pick 3 repeating decisions and give them defaults for 7 days. This ritual protects your judgment for what deserves it.